started. Okay, algebra people, you get to see my infinite desktop here as we get started. So today we're going to be talking about lesson 3, which is variables on both sides. I realized that I hadn't actually posted the video lesson for people who are following on Classroom, so I might as well do that now. Now, I'm going to give you guys a general set of rules for solving equations that have multiple steps. This general set of rules has some exceptions, some deal breakers, but for the most part this is going to be the set of steps you want to go through. So we'll call this steps for solving. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but they're doing construction outside. Equations. Alright, step number 1, you want to distribute. Not every problem is going to require you to distribute, but that's the first thing that you should do if it is there. So if you have something outside of a set of parentheses, you want to distribute that to both things inside, or if you're dealing with fractions, you want to distribute the common denominator to everything. Step number 2, you want to combine like terms on both sides of the equal sign. And I'll show you what I mean by that and how this is different than the next step. On both sides of the equal sign. Circle that. Alright, so first step is distribute. Second step is to combine like terms. And the third step is to move all of your variables to the left of the equal sign, and you want to move all of your constants, your plain numbers, to the right. So variables left, constants right. That's step 3. And then step 4, once you have all of that done, is to divide by the coefficient. Oops, it would help if I could spell divide correctly. So we want to divide by the coefficient. So the coefficient is the number in front of the variable, but let's start with a complicated version of this. Dive right in, straight into the deep end. Let's say that we have something that has a lot of fractions in it, because I know high school students love fractions. So I'm going to start with, let's do 1/3 plus 3/2 x is equal to 7 minus 2/3 x. Alright, so in this case, you can power through with the fraction if you want to, but most students really don't like them. So to get rid of the fraction, we're going to do the very first step, which is to distribute. And it doesn't look like there's anything to distribute, so instead we're going to put parentheses around the whole equation, both sides, left and right, and we're going to distribute to everything the common denominator of the fraction. So my step number 1 here is going to be distribute, but I'm going to distribute the common denominator. Common denom. Now, it doesn't have to be the least common denominator. You can use just any common denominator, and that would be okay. So 3 and 2, both of those can multiply to be 6. So I'm going to multiply everything by 6 here. Alright, so when I'm distributing this 6 to everything inside, I'm going to multiply by the numerator, divide by the denominator. So 6 times 1 is 6, divided by 3 is 2. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 divided by 2 is 9. And the x just comes with it. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times 2 is 12, divided by 3 is 4. And now this equation is way happier than this one. This one is a sad equation, and this one's pretty happy. So I distributed. Combine like terms on both sides of the equal sign means you want to look at the left and see if there are any like terms. So we've got a 2 and a 9x, they're not like terms. Look at the right. See if you got any like terms. We got a 42 and a negative 4x. They're not like terms, so we can skip step 2. Step 3 says variables left, constants right. So we're going to get rid of this negative 4x because it's on the right, and I only want plain numbers on the right. I want all my variables on the left. So to get rid of this, I'm going to add 4x to both sides. So now I've got 2 plus 9x's and 4x's makes 13x's, 42, and then negative 4x's plus 4x's cancels. So variables left. Now I need to move all the constants right. So I'm going to minus 2 from both sides. I'm going to end up with a decimal as an answer here. Don't freak out. Decimals or fractions are your friends. So 2 minus 2 cancels, and we've got 13x is equal to 40. So that's step 3. Step 4 is to divide by the coefficient. The coefficient is the number in front of the variable. So in this case, the coefficient is 13. So we're going to divide both sides by 13. Now, I think it's easier if you answer as a fraction, and here's why. 13 goes into 40 3 times without going over, and 13 times 3 is 39. 40 minus 39 is 1, so the remainder is 1, and the divisor, what we were dividing by, is 13. I think it's easier to answer this way than the decimal equivalent, which is pretty long and nasty. It's a decimal horror show, whereas this, I think, is pretty kind. I think that's a nice answer. All right, let's look at another example here. Let's do something that you have to distribute on. So let's do 5 times, in parentheses, 2x plus 3 is equal to 9x minus 7. All right, step number 1 is to distribute. So I'm going to take the 5 and distribute it to both things inside. I'm going to draw my little bar here so that I can keep everything straight. 5 times 2x is 10x. 5 times 3 is 15. And then I'm just going to drop down the equal sign and everything on the right. So that was distributing. I still don't need to combine any like terms on either side, but I do need to get all my variables left and all my constants right. So I'm going to subtract 9x from both sides to move the variables over here. So minus 9x is 1x, or I could just write it as x. Drop down the plus 15, drop down the equal sign, drop down the minus 7, and these canceled. Now I need to get all my constants right, so that means moving this 15 over. So I'm going to minus 15 from both sides. And this cancels, leaving me with x is equal to negative 22. And now I don't need to divide by the coefficient because this one has no coefficient. The coefficient of x is 1, and if I divide by 1, I would just end up with the same thing. So I'm done. All right, cool. So there we go. That's multi-step equations. We're going to talk about something special that happens with these sometimes in the next video, but we'll get to that soon. For now, you get to see my infinite desktop again, and I hope everybody has a good day.